many letters?
5 letters.
Just think about what am I doing right now?
Smile. Smile?
Uh-huh.
This is so easy.
Nobody likes to be stopped by the police, but if I'd seen her texting while driving and given her a ticket, it just might have saved her life.
Pretty powerful message. I remember the first time I saw that, and I responded the same way I just now did. One of the inspirations behind that piece, a young woman from Delmarva.
Yeah, you may remember Liz Marks came on the show last year. This is what she used to look like, an honor roll student and graduate of St. Michael's High School. Family and friends describe Liz as very outgoing. As you can see, she's a beautiful girl who had aspirations of becoming a model one day, but in one moment, one split second, one text message later, her life changed forever.
Liz was critically injured in a crash less than 2 months before she was set to graduate. As a matter of fact, she almost died. And since then, Liz has gone through multiple surgeries.
Well, the car accident caused me to go blind in my left eye and deaf in my left ear. I lost the ability to smell, and I can't cry anymore. I also have to go to speech therapy for my cognitive learning, and I have to go to a tutor every week.
Liz's mother, Betty, told us what went through her head when she found out her daughter was in an accident.
The officer came to my door and he said, "My daughter's been in a serious car accident." And I remember screaming to him, "Is she alive? Is she alive?" And he said, "Yes, but it doesn't look good." And then I remember he bowed his head and I just fell apart. I just fell apart.
So maybe you're asking yourself, what text was so important and from whom that it almost took Liz's life? It was actually one text, one word, 2 letters. It simply read, "Okay."
I learned through the officer that did the investigation on her accident that he said she was texting. So I got her phone because I had it from the accident scene, and I wanted to see who she was texting. And the last text that was open was from me.
How about that? Now, Liz actually is the reason why we are wearing these bracelets. It's a visual reminder. Put down the phone while driving. The reason that they're green is that's the color that was used to mark the accident scene during the investigation.
Yeah, I keep one in my car to remind me. Now, Liz is just one of the people behind the National Distracted Driving Campaign. You text, you drive, you pay. Take a look at this video out of Florida. A police car camera caught this car swerving off the road and into a tree before rolling over. Now look closely and you can see the driver escape. He was unhurt. But authorities say he did admit he was texting while driving.
Now, no matter how many times it's pounded into our heads just how dangerous distracted driving is, the truth is many people still do it every single day.
But now technology, something as simple as an app on your phone, is helping to put a stop to it.
Looking down, looking up, looking down, looking up.
The average text takes about 4.5 seconds to read.
She's texting away at her cell phone.
Experts say by the time you're finished reading a text, you travel the length of a football field. But it's not just texting. Making calls, surfing the web, they all make for distracted drivers. What if you could put a stop to it simply by downloading an app?
A couple of years ago, my daughters, who were just turning 16 and 17, were starting to drive, and I was looking for a solution on how to stop texting and driving. At that time, there was no solution at all in the marketplace.
So David Mears created Text Limit. It's a smartphone app that works with the phone's GPS software.
Once the phone exceeds a predetermined speed, then the text screen becomes inhibited on the phone, and it keeps the user from texting, calling, or surfing the web, which eliminates the distraction.
There can even be a maximum speed set. If a driver surpasses it, an alert is sent to the administrator.
The administrator, the parent in this case, or an employer, has control of the settings and takes control out of uncontrollable teenagers or negligent drivers, either with large fleet operators, taxi, or public transportation companies.
911 and emergency call services will never disable, but the goal is to keep drivers safe on the roads.
What text limit does is it really helps to change someone's habits from getting in the car and texting and driving. It's, you know, the information can wait until you're stopped and out of the vehicle to return calls or messages.
Now, in case you didn't know or you need a little reminder, texting while driving is against the law in all 3 states on Delmarva: Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. In fact, in Delaware and Maryland, there's also a ban on handheld devices while driving.
So what can you expect if you are caught driving while distracted? Well, joining us today to tell us is attorney Jamie King with the Law Office of Tunnel and Raysor. Thank you so much for joining us, Jamie. It's good to have you.
Yep, nice to be here.
Regardless of how many times it's pounded into our head, we still do it on Delmarva. What?
Yeah, it's one of those things we need. You know, unfortunately, we have the tragic situations that have to give us those reminders, and I think, you know, a lot of the states are being progressive in campaigns to enforce the no texting and the distracted driving.
Yeah. And distracted driving is what we're talking about, and it's not just talking on the phone or texting. There's
right.
a lot of other things.
You know, anything, eating, drinking, reading a map, fiddling with something in the car, or talking to passengers.
Even adjusting the radio?
Yeah, anything that takes your mind and eyes off of the road can lead to that distracted driving.
Okay, so take us state by state and explain just exactly what we're talking about here. In Delaware, some impressive numbers here.
Yeah, and in 2013, Delaware had 19,500 citations for the distracted driving, and it's just over 30,000 since the inception of the law a few years ago. In Maryland, it's 14,490 were charged during that time period, October to April.
Right.
And Virginia has a Drive Smart program and some really interesting statistics. 8 out of 10 crashes are as a result of distracted driving, and they found that you're 23 times more likely to be involved in an accident if you're doing one of these things that we consider the distracted driving. So pretty powerful numbers.
And there are different types of distracted driving.
Right. The CDC breaks it down into a visual where you actually take your eyes off of the road, manual, taking your hands off the wheel for whatever reason, or messing with something inside of the car, and a cognitive where just your mind is elsewhere and not necessarily paying attention to the road or what you're doing and being safe on the road.
Okay, so any one of those 3. I get caught distracted driving. What kind of fine or punishment am I looking at?
Pretty much across Delmarva, we're looking at there's civil violations, and it can be anywhere from $50 to a first offense, and then when we get repeat offenders, they can be civil violations up to $250.
Now, to me, that seems like just a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
So, but if you are charged with distracted driving or texting or on the phone or whatever, it could really cost you in the long run, couldn't it?
Absolutely, and I think in fact, Maryland is being very progressive and just passed a new law, Jake's Law, which could lead someone, if they are distracted driving or texting and cause an accident, that they could potentially land in jail, and, you know, legal fees, and, you know, your freedom could potentially be taken away. So I think over time, with more of these situations, that we're going to see states become more progressive in enforcement and penalties.
Dangerous game you don't want to play. Now, if something does happen, police can actually subpoena your phone.
Absolutely. The typical accident situation is becoming more and more often that it is discoverable information. The technological world that we live in, all that information is recorded, and it's certainly something in our practice that we do get those records on a regular basis.
And the red light doesn't always save us. I mean,
that's right.
Some people text at the red light.
Yep, anytime you're on the roadway, your job is to be safe and be attentive to the road, and anytime it's just not a good thing.
All right, Jamie, thank you so much. Good information.
Appreciate
We always need to be reminded. And to read more about the Tunnel and Raysor Law Firm, including its area of practice, go to delmarvalife.com and click on the Show tab. Still ahead on Delmarva Life, when the romance started, everything was perfect. But as time goes by, your significant other seems to be doing more and more to intentionally make you crazy. Up next on Delmarva Life, we address what you're thinking in part 2 of our series, Normal or Nuts?
And a little later on, seeing poultry houses on just about every road in Delmarva, pretty normal. A lot of them, though, are empty. We're going to learn why they ended up that way and how some are getting a second life. Delmarva Life, we'll be right back.